The autumn sun cast golden rays through the corridor windows of West Bridge High, creating patterns of light and shadow that danced across the polished floors. It was in this interplay of brightness and darkness that Maya Richardson first walked through the school's grand entrance, her presence commanding attention without demanding it. She moved with a quiet grace that spoke of confidence earned through trials unknown. Her dark hair caught the sunlight, and there was something almost ethereal about the way she carried herself, not with arrogance, but with the serene strength of someone who had weathered storms and emerged transformed. The designer backpack on her shoulders and the subtle glint of a vintage watch on her wrist hinted at privilege. But her warm smile suggested something far more valuable: genuine kindness. Maya had transferred from an elite performing arts academy across the country, but what nobody knew was the real reason for her move. Behind her polished exterior lay a heart still healing from its own painful past. In the cafeteria that first day, she noticed him immediately. Not because he was loud or imposing, but because of the space that formed around him, a circle of fear disguised as respect. Derek Matthews. The name was whispered in hallways, a warning passed between students like a secret code. Derek ruled the school through intimidation, his sharp tongue cutting deeper than any physical blow. He was tall, athletic, with features that could have been handsome if not twisted by the constant sneer he wore like armor. Designer sneakers, expensive jackets, a group of followers who laughed at his cruelty. He had everything except what he needed most. Their worlds collided on Maya's third day. She was sitting alone in the courtyard during lunch, sketching in a leather-bound journal, when Derek's shadow fell across her page. His entourage flanked him, phones ready to capture whatever humiliation he had planned. "Well, well," Derek's voice dripped with mock sweetness. "The princess graces us with her presence. Too good to sit with the rest of us." Maya looked up, her eyes meeting his without flinching. There was no fear there, no anger, just a deep, knowing sadness that unsettled him more than any comeback could have. "There's room here if you'd like to join me," she said simply, gesturing to the empty bench. The offer, so unexpected, so sincere, hung in the air. Derek's followers waited for his response, their phones still recording. He felt something crack inside his carefully constructed walls, and he hated her for it. "I don't sit with charity cases trying to buy friends with daddy's money," he sneered, grabbing her journal and holding it high. "What's this? Dear Diary, nobody likes me." The crowd that had gathered gasped, waiting for tears, for anger, for the new girl to crumble like all the others. Instead, Maya stood, not in aggression, but with the poise of someone who understood pain intimately. "You can keep it if you'd like," she said softly. "There's a sketch of a storm on page 17. I drew it last year when I felt exactly how you're feeling right now." The words landed like a thunderclap. Derek's hand, still holding the journal aloft, began to tremble. Nobody spoke to him like this, as if they could see through his armor to the frightened boy beneath. "You don't know anything about me," he spat, but his voice had lost its edge. "I know that hurt people, Maya replied, her voice gentle but unwavering. "And I know that behind every bully is someone who needs kindness more than anyone else." For a moment, Derek's mask slipped. His eyes, usually cold and calculating, showed a flicker of something raw and vulnerable. Then, as quickly as it appeared, he buried it, throwing her journal to the ground and storming away, his followers scrambling after him. Apana had planted a seed. Over the following weeks, Derek watched her. She never avoided him, never looked at him with a fear or hatred he was used to seeing. Instead, she smiled, not mockingly, but with genuine warmth that made him question everything he thought he knew about power. She befriended the kids he tormented. She organized study groups that welcomed everyone. She started an after-school art program where students could express themselves without judgment. The school began to transform around her, light spreading into corners where darkness had reigned. Derek's kingdom was crumbling, but not through force, through something far more powerful. The breaking point came on a rain-soaked Thursday afternoon. Derek was alone in the library, a rare moment when his followers weren't around to witness his carefully maintained image. Maya found him there, staring at a college application, his usual confidence nowhere to be seen. "They're all lies," he said without looking up, somehow knowing it was her. "The recommendations, the achievements, the leadership positions. It's all just a performance." Maya sat down across from him, uninvited but not unwelcome. "I used to perform too," she said. "At my old school, I was the star of every production, the girl everyone envied. I had the lead role, the perfect friends, the perfect life." Derek looked up, surprised by her admission. "Then I found out my best friend was being abused at home," Maya continued, her voice thick with emotion. "She was suffering every single day, and I was too caught up in my own glamorous world to notice. She tried to reach out, but I was too busy being fabulous to see her pain." Tears welled in Maya's eyes, the first crack in her own polished exterior. "She's okay now. She got help. She's healing. But I'll never forget how my selfishness, my blindness to others' struggles, almost cost someone I loved everything. I transferred here to start over, to be the person I should have been all along." The silence between them was heavy with understanding. "Why are you telling me this?" Derek's voice was barely a whisper. "Because I see you, Derek. Really see you. And I think underneath all this anger and cruelty, there's someone extraordinary waiting to emerge. Someone who's been hurt and learned to hurt back because it felt safer than being vulnerable." Derek's eyes filled with tears he'd been holding back for years. "My dad," he choked out. "Nothing I do is ever good enough. Every day it's the same: you're weak, you're worthless, you're a disappointment." So I became what he said I was. I became the person everyone fears, because at least then I have control over something. Maya reached across the table, her hand covering his. "You have control over who you choose to be from this moment forward. The past doesn't define you, your choices do." What happened next would become legendary at Westbridge High. Derek didn't transform overnight. Real change never works that way. But he began the slow, painful work of dismantling the walls he'd built. He started with apologies. One by one, he sought out the students he'd tormented, offering not excuses, but genuine remorse and requests for forgiveness. Some accepted immediately, others needed time, and a few couldn't forgive, and he accepted that too. Maya stood by him through it all, not as a savior, but as a friend who understood that healing is never a straight line. She introduced him to the art program, rediscovered a talent for photography that allowed him to see the world and himself through a different lens. His photos began appearing around school. Not of the popular kids or the glamorous moments, but of the overlooked students, the quiet heroes, the everyday beauty that exists when you learn to truly see. Each image told a story of dignity, of worth, of light emerging from darkness. The former followers fell away, but genuine friends took their place, people who valued the real Derek, not the performance. His relationship with his father remained complicated, but he found a therapist through the school counselor Maya had encouraged him to see, and slowly, painfully, he began to heal. By the time spring arrived, Westbridge High was a different place. The culture of fear had given way to one of compassion. Students who once walked in terror now moved freely, their voices heard, their worth recognized. And at the center of it all were two unlikely friends: the girl who had learned that true beauty lies in seeing others' pain, and the boy who discovered that real strength comes from vulnerability. At the year-end assembly, Derek stood before the entire school, his photography project displayed on screens behind him. The collection was titled "From Darkness to Light." Faces of Courage. I spent years making people feel small because I felt small. He told the silent auditorium, his voice steady despite his trembling hands. I hurt people because I was hurting. But someone saw past my worst self to who I could become. Someone chose kindness when I deserved judgment. And that choice, that single act of seeing me as a human being worthy of redemption, changed everything. He looked at Maya, sitting in the front row with tears streaming down her face. This is for everyone who's ever felt invisible, who's ever been torn down by words or actions. You matter, your story matters. And to anyone out there who's hurting others because they are re-hurting it, it's never too late to choose differently. It's never too late to step into the light. The standing ovation lasted 5 minutes, but the impact lasted far longer. Some stories end with perfect resolution, but the most honest ones acknowledge that healing is ongoing. Derek still had hard days, moments when old patterns tempted him back into darkness. Maya still carried guilt about her past blindness. But together, along with the community they had helped transform, they proved something powerful, that one person choosing kindness can create ripples that become waves of change. That sometimes the bully and the new student are antinomies, but two souls on different parts of the same journey, both searching for acceptance, both deserving of grace, both capable of transformation when someone finally sees them not as they are, but as they could be. And in that seeing, in that radical choice to respond to darkness with light, lies the power to change not just one life, but an entire world.